Beware of spoilers. I am Adam. Let's talk about the latest Hulu true crime show. And we've been covering weekly The Dropout, which is true crime, but it's not sexy true crime, you know. When we talk about true crime a lot, we talk about murder and things like that. Crimes where, you know, there's a dead body involved. And I think that, like, because of that, a lot of people don't really consider The Dropout true crime. But at the end of the day, it's still a dramatization of a criminal act, in that case, fraud. It's not, you know, a big, flashy, like, you know, there's no dead body. Well, there is, but, you know, that, like, there was no murder in that show for her to be tried for. Now, here, the girl from Plainville, it's a murder case. And anytime they do these about something that kind of happened before, happened recently, I always feel a little weird, because, like, these are all real people. And I get, even if they do something about something where everyone around them is dead, like, this is very recent. This is like, you know, this is something that happened within the last 10 years. And it feels exploitative anytime I watch. Like, that's not a criticism of the show, it's just something that I always feel weird watching these shows. Like, oh, yeah, like, this happened 5 years ago. Like, it's a little, not weird, but, like, you know, I don't know. So, this is the case of Michelle Carter, who, she met a guy when they were on vacation. They didn't live too far from each other, when they went back home, and the two of them had a relationship that was mostly online, and she ended up, he was going through mental issues. She also had mental issues, and he had issues with depression and all of that. He was reaching out to her, and rather than trying to save him, she tried to convince him, she succeeded in convincing him to kill himself. And this show is about what led up to, and then the case resulting from that. Now, the interesting thing is that the show really does paint a full picture of not just what was going on in Conrad's life, the boy who unfortunately killed himself, but also in Michelle's life. More so Michelle's life, and then Conrad just kind of unfolds behind it, to paint a full picture. And it's not since watching Tiger King have I felt a feeling of, wow, everyone involved here is just, like, the only person you feel bad for is the kid who killed himself. Like, everyone else around him is kind of a shithead. Like, the dad isn't portrayed well, the mom's kind of, like, his mom is kind of portrayed okay. Chloe, and that's not in terms of, like, the acting portrayal, because, like, Chloe Sevigny is doing great as the mom. Ellie Fanning's doing great as, you know, as Michelle, and the kid whose name I'm forgetting who plays Conrad, he's also great. The problem is, like, there's a lot of blame to go around for Conrad's death. And it's easy to point to Michelle as the catalyst, and Michelle definitely is the catalyst. But there were a lot of other issues that went into it, and to be like, you know, oh, well, it's just this, it's a problem. It is one of those things. And the show does a good job of kind of doing that. And the show also really does toe an interesting line of showing Michelle and kind of rationalizing Michelle. And her desire to be liked, and her desire to have friends, and her, you know, like, I don't know if it actually happens, but she has the one friend who she's close with, and that friend is not there in the future, and they don't say she changed school, so did that friend also kill herself? So maybe the show's trying to make the case that, like, because she went through it once before, and then she found Conrad, and Conrad was kind of a broken broken person. She saw that as an opportunity and then convinced him to kill himself. It's an interesting kind of conundrum they have, where they're towing the line though. They're not saying that it's entirely because of that, but they're also not saying that it is also they haven't unfolded the story enough to say definitively that Conrad did she did it because that friend, we don't know what happens to that friend yet, and we don't know if that friend if that causes what happens, but we do get a lot of looks at what she's doing now that Conrad is dead. What is she how is she reacting to the death of Conrad is the big question, and looking around. And that's the kind of thing that it's one of those things where if you ever watch any of these 48 Hours mysteries or anything like that, if you're a person of interest in a murder, there is nothing you can do in the grieving process that is right, I've come to find, where it's oh, this person was too upset, this person wasn't upset enough, this person cried too much, this person didn't cry enough. And it's kind of what happens is people have they make up their mind about the case, and then whatever they think, they kind of reshape what the person's doing to fit the narrative. I mean, look, the way that, I'm not saying that she's she's grieving the right way, and everyone's oh, well, everyone's out to get her, but it's it's just one of those things where it's she goes and she's starting this fundraiser, and for mental health awareness, and again, she's not doing it in Conrad's town, she's doing it in her town, because it's about her, not about him, and it's this really interesting kind of look at this case, and I don't know, I feel like they're doing a good job of kind of, showing where her issues come from without dismissing what she did, and being oh, well, she did this, and then the thing is, too, it's keep in mind she was 17, there were a lot of other extenuating factors that went into this case that are oh, well, there were other interactions that could have been had. The idea that even at the what's that thing called? The fundraiser, or after the fundraiser, the grandfather talks about it, and it's no, well, what are they doing? It's they're going to sit here and make him out to be some kind of lunatic after he died, and it's well, that, the stigmatization of mental health is a big part of this show. They talk about being on medication and being thrown on medication, and how, during that era, that was just what they did to teenagers who displayed abnormal behavior. They were just all right, well, put them on meds, and meds will solve the problem. And then it's all right, well, what about addressing the root issue? Because, that's the thing. It's you can put someone on antidepressants, but if his father's still beating the fuck out of him and treating him like shit, in the case of Conrad here, you put him on all the antidepressants you want, that's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to medicate the thing, and then the side effects of, say, I looked it up, he was on Celexa, which the side effects for a lot of antidepressants are suicidal thoughts or actions in teens, and it's it's a big risk you're taking by not treating the core issue and just putting them on medication. So it's kind of talks about that a little bit. The show's got a little bit of everything, and it's about the show doesn't shy away from putting the blame squarely on Michelle, because at the end of the day, it is Michelle's fault. Because Michelle talked him into it, and at the end of the day, she tells him to get back in the car when he's about to do it. He gets out of the car because he's scared, and she's get back in the car and just do it. And the idea that, you know, he then does it is kind of the whole issue. Like that is the thing that we can definitively point to and say, okay, she did it. Like, she did it, and it's her fault. I don't know. I feel like the show is very well made. There are a few anachronistic things that I've noticed. I don't know how well the music meshes. I knew it was, and you know, was Glee still going on in 2014? I guess Glee had to be a part of it, otherwise I wouldn't have it in the show. Like, the idea that, because that's the thing, is this show is done by the great Liz Hannah, who, you may know, she also did The Dropout, she also did Mindhunter, she also did, what was that other show? She also did The Post. Like, she does her research, so I'm assuming that's right. Now, do I think that his line about how he doesn't want to be ghosted by someone tracks for something that was said in 2014? I don't think so. I think the term ghosting is more recent than that. I don't think it's you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, they didn't say that in 2014. Especially regarding people that you went to school with. Like, I don't know, I just that felt a little weird to me. But, you know, it is it's an interesting all-around kind of look at, what's it called? Like, you know, what are the contributing factors to suicide that go beyond just this girl talking him into it, while not taking the blame off of the girl who talked him into it. And that's a big kind of, you know, it's a very tight rope to walk. To be like, okay, so this is why it happened, this is how it happened, these are all the contributing factors to it happening, but also not being like, well, and this girl also is part of the, like, this girl also is 100% involved, and had she not done what she did, maybe he would still be alive today, which, I don't think the show makes that claim, which is, you know, like, it's kind of a, like, they point that out at one point. Aya Cash, you may know her as Stormfront on The Boys, or she was on Worst People, or You're the Worst, which is another Hulu show, or an FX show. She looks vaguely like, what's it called? She looks vaguely like Karen Gillan. She plays the DA. And she's like, you know, well, what are we going to do? It's like the kid was on SSRIs. Like, he had an attempted suicide in the past. And that's the whole kind of thing. It's like this, you know, this idea that, you know, would this have happened anyway? And then, you know, did she just push it along so it happened sooner? That's the question. And I think that going forward, we're going to get more answers to those questions as we delve into the actual, you know, legal proceedings that follow the show. And as we get into the, you know, here's the, you know, the lawsuit, here's the criminal case, and all that kind of stuff. But it's a pretty good show. And I think that a show like this is carried by the actors in a very real way. And I think that if the acting was not as good as this show's acting is, it would be easy to dismiss, as evidenced by the number of Lifetime movies that are made every year that are true crimes that are just utterly forgotten. And it's like, it's that kind of thing, where it's like, you know, looking at what this, looking at what this show is, I think that it is, son of a bitch, I was just up behind the fucking train. And I just can't, I just, what's one looking for here? Like, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, I don't want to say there are ways the show could be better because I want to see how the rest of it plays out. Like, unlike The Dropout, where The Dropout, there's a pretty clear, like, out of the gate almost, we know what crimes are being committed, and we don't really get motivation, or conflicting motivation, at best, from, we get conflicting motivation from Elizabeth Holmes about why she's doing what she's doing. We don't really have a conflict here, but I'm interested to see what role they say to other people, what role they give to other people in this situation that will that will make the story, that will assign blame beyond just to her. I'm not saying that blame, it is 100% her. It is 100% her who caused this death, but I think that at the same time, there are contributing factors to the suicide, and her egging him on was just the catalyst to the final moments. But it is ultimately, it was more than just that led to the suicide in question. And it's going to be interesting to see how this show kind of juxtaposes those things. I'm really interested in that. So we'll wrap up there for today. Tomorrow we have Moon Knight, and then what's today? Today's Wednesday. Yeah, so today I'll watch Moon Knight. Tomorrow I will watch The Dropout. Then after that I will watch The Flash, and we'll go from there, and we'll see, we will see how this is, moving on from there, because we should be back with, I think The Dropout only has 2 episodes left, which will be great for me, because I don't have as much to watch on a weekly basis, on top of, fucking Morbius this week, and the impending Harry Potter movie, or Wizarding World movie. So we'll wrap up there for today, and we'll be back with other stuff starting tomorrow. So until then, have a great rest of your week.